This from the cinema. If you just turn on the phone.
Shall I do that?
I think you should.
Yeah, okay, fine.
And Peter says, if you should bother to read this email out, could you please thank Janus for introducing me to the programme, and please ask him to finish his doctorate already. Thank you. Here comes another film, and it's the one with Liam Neeson looking mean and cold.
Yeah, there's the poster for it. The Grey. Live or die on this day. 15 certificate contains...
Live or die on this day?
Live and die. No, live or die. It is live and... Actually, I think... Funny so, he says live or die on this day, but actually the poem he keeps quoting, I'm sure, says live and die on this day.
What day?
On this day, now.
Well, which...
Now!
Live and die...
Carpe diem, mate, you know. Seize the day, innit?
I understand that, but live or die on this day, that's not... What does that mean?
No, I think it turns out that it's a poem that he's quoting that has emotional resonance, and I think that as he quotes it, it's live and die on this day. 15 certificate contains strong language, threat, and gore. Okay?
Excellent.
This is Liam in full mode. So the story is actually the role originally was earmarked for Bradley Cooper, strangely enough. So Liam Neeson, at the very beginning, we meet him. He is the existential angst hero, but not in the Bertrand Bonello sense. Okay, he's out in Alaska. His job is that he has to protect the people working on this oil thing from wolves.
Oil rig?
No, not well. It's oil processing, oil. So men doing stuff with wrenches. Okay, men doing stuff with wrenches. Wolves out there in the Arctic. Liam's job is to stop the wolves getting the men
with a wrench.
Not with a wrench, with a gun. Okay, but at the very beginning he says, "Well, how did I get here? I'm at the end of the world." He's writing a letter that he will never send to somebody who is lost a long time ago. He's he's at the back end of nowhere, surrounded by the degenerates and of society, everything. And at the very beginning we see a moment he's about to commit suicide. But he doesn't commit suicide because something happens that distracts him from committing. But we know
a panther runs on and
says,
wolves.
I had to get away from that pretentious French film because, frankly, if they started talking again, I was going to eat somebody.
And that goose won't shut up.
Exactly. And anyway, next thing you know, he's on a plane. Plane experiences engine trouble. Plane goes down. They're in the middle of the snowy wastelands. Bunch of survivors. The survivors have to get back to civilization without getting picked off by the killer wolves. Liam, helpfully enough, is a killer wolf killer. Is a clip.
When did you become animal expert all of a sudden?
They paid me to kill those things, to keep them from killing you. So it makes sense for me to know they're man-eaters and they don't give a shit about berries and shrubs. There's blood in the air, and there's death. They know we're wounded. They can smell it.
Before you go on, we're getting a whole bunch of text and emails from listeners in Manchester and Oldham and East Yorkshire and Nottingham, a whole bunch of places. They're saying the signal is cutting in and out.
All right.
And we're going to just say it's fine leaving us, but we've spoken to our fine team of engineers who will get to it.
Can I just say,
they're working on it.
I just had a moment of panic. You've never ever stopped a clip and done the. We're having. I thought you were about to say the world is ending.
No, I didn't stop a clip. The clip finished.
No, okay, fine, but you did it in a way which is we're getting. I'm sorry, I thought that was you doing. Martians have landed,
or a category A.
The planet
death.
Melancholia has been spotted just off the. I just had a very strange moment. I thought something really bad was happening.
Well, something really bad is happening because the fact that the signal is cutting out may well be a signal of the end of the world or a Martian invasion.
Is it the end of the world?
Well, I'm waiting to hear, but Peter Allen will have that on drive.
I think one of the signs of the apocalypse is Radio 5 Live 909-693 is cutting out in the Macclesfield area.
No one mentions 909 and 693 anymore.
But that's what it's broadcast
Well, I
on.
know, but it's not. You have to go on a course. Anyway, so sorry if the signal is indeed cutting out.
Yeah, and if you're listening on 909-693, I mean, that's just like so yesterday.
It is.
Dad.
You're not supposed to.
Okay, fine.
You're supposed to be online, on digital.
And on 909 and 693.
Something like that.
It's something like that.
We apologise. We don't know why that's happening, but
you can podcast it, and there won't be blips in the podcast.
Listen to Drive to find out if indeed it is the apocalypse.
Okay, so the film is directed by Joe Carnahan, who started out making.
What was the film again?
The Grey.
Oh, The Grey. That's
Keep
right.
up. All right, there we go. Liam Neeson.
Hey, we're living and dying on this day. That's
the living and dying. Okay, so directed by Joe Carnahan, who originally made a name for himself with Narc, which got lots of kind of critical plaudits, and then decided he was going to go much more mainstream, down market, made Smoking Aces, which was just totally empty, and then The A-Team, which was totally empty, but had that one good gag in it, in which all the inmates sit down watching a film with 3D glasses on, and then a car actually crashes through the screen. That was it. That was the one good gag in that film. Immediately after the crash, what happens is there's a kind of jokey conversation in which somebody says, hey, it's like that movie, and the movie they're referring to is Alive. Do you remember that film Alive about the Andes plane crash?
Yeah, the rugby team that eat each other.
Yes,
Spoiler
exactly.
alert.
Yeah, exactly. Spoiler alert. Well done. So it makes a reference to that. But of course, the thing it's closest to in its narrative terms is, you remember the film The Edge with Sir Anthony Hopkins and Alec Baldwin, with a screenplay by David Mamet, right? Which again had a plane crash and then the guys, and this time it was a bear. And the idea was, in Mamet's thing, all the edge of the, we're facing the ultimate thing, and in that case, the ultimate thing is a bear. This is much better than the David Mamet scripted The Edge. And the reason that it is partly because it's adapted from a short story Ghostwalker by Ian Mackenzie Jeffers, and it has a little bit of the sense of Jim Jarmusch's Dead Man in there. And it does actually do the thing which The Edge wanted to do but doesn't manage to do, which is that it is an action movie and it does deliver on the action front, but it does do the 70s nihilistic man. The whole thing, Werner Herzog, when he goes out to the encounters at the end of the world, the idea is that you're in the middle of nowhere and that's where you actually discover who you are. And it's a great action movie trope. You're absolutely in the wilderness. It's just you and your instincts versus the thing out there, and the thing out there in this particular case happens to be represented by wolves. And generally you go, yeah, don't care, fine, get on with it. But the action set pieces are well done because Joe Carnahan can put tab A into slot B, and he knows how to do that. But the thing that's most impressive about it is that it does, oddly enough, have a sense of the end of everything nearly, which is funny because
Does it have breaking up radio signals?
It has. There is a moment in it when if somebody said the signal 909693 is breaking up in Macclesfield, I wouldn't be at all surprised to find Liam nodding his head sagely and going,
if only I'd been
that's
online.
What happens. That's right, if only I'd been on, that's what happens before the wolves attack. So you get this strange combination of, it looks great, the location stuff is all very good, a lot of it is that kind of white out, they are genuinely in the icy surrounds, and you get sometimes the snow blizzard storms actually completely blanks the screen. There are moments when, in order to attempt to survive, they have to do things like leap into rivers that look like they are really freezing cold because they're out there on locations and there's ice everywhere, and you think, blimey, Charlie, that must be really cold. You have to decide at the beginning, who do you think is going to survive? Who do you think, old disaster movie format, everybody's got their own little personal demons. Are they going to sort out their thing before the wolves get them? There's one sequence which actually completely rides the line between being threatening and scary, which is that they've got a fire and there's just darkness all around them. And then you just start to see the wolves' eyes picked out. Not the wolves at all. You just see almost like in a Harry Potter way. You
Sounds
just see
like
these
cartoon.
kind of... Yeah, exactly. It sounds like a cartoon, and part of you think, that's silly, but part of you thinks, actually, that's quite creepy. And so it's a peculiar combination of, it is a nuts and bolt exploitation movie. Liam Neeson... It's funny how Liam Neeson has mutated into this very sort of weighty action figure. If you need an action movie with somebody who's grizzled and, has a little bit more substance, not your man Bradley Cooper, for example. Although actually when Bradley Cooper came on the programme, he gave very good accounts of himself, and you got on very well with him, didn't you? You've been hanging out with him since then, haven't you?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
fine. I think he's driving me over to Radio 2 in a minute.
He is, absolutely. But the thing that I liked about it most was, as somebody who has a love of the great old 70s movie in which nothing is going to end well, nobody is going to come out of this well, everyone is going to realise that when faced with the awful abyss, things just go from bad to worse. For what is essentially a modern-day action movie that's walking to some extent in the footsteps of the not very good David Mamet scripted The Edge, and which nods its hat at the very beginning, its head to Alive, this was